When it comes to managing your containers, there's so many options that are available to you. You have Komodo, Yacht, Dokage, pretty sure I'm pronouncing that one wrong, but I like the sound of it. And of course, there's one that sits on top of the throne and of any sort of container management, and that is going to be Portainer. But we have another contender entering the fray, and that is Arcane. So let's get into it. Also, really quick, about 90% of the people watching this aren't subscribed, so if you like deep dives into Proxmox, ZFS, different tools that make your life easier, do me a favor, hit subscribe and hit the like button. Also, thank you very much. We finally hit 4,000 subscribers right before the end of 2025. I'm Zach Perry, this is 45 Homelab, and the goal here today is simple. Today, we're going to take a look at Arcane, a new project by GitHub user K. Mendel. Link to that project is going to be in the description down below. And for today, we're going to do a quick background on Arcane, how it stacks up to Portainer, and all that good stuff. So first thing before we do anything else, we have to know why and what is Arcane. So from the GitHub page, Arcane looks to have released in April as of this year. And the reason that I'm covering it is that this has already come really far in a short amount of time, and it really seems like it has a lot of potential. And with all of the mentioned management tools I mentioned, why do we need another? They all kind of serve their own purposes for specific needs. And from the Arcane dev themselves, they mentioned their reasoning here on Reddit, and we'll throw that in the description below as well. Arcane is a modern web-based interface for managing your Docker environment built with SvelteKit. It offers a clean, intuitive overview and powerful management tools for your containers, images, volumes, networks, all in one place. Now, the why. So they mentioned that I created Arcane because I couldn't find a Docker UI that was both simple and feature-rich enough for my needs. Every feature in Arcane is something that I personally found missing or cumbersome in other tools. As the project grew, it became clear that others might benefit from it too. Now, let's get into the setup, what it expects from your Homelab. So for Arcane, the install story is very Homelab friendly. Docker Compose, you're going to deploy it via that method, and the docs call out a key thing that a lot of people forget, and that's WebSockets, which matters the second you want to put it behind a reverse proxy. Also mentioned, Arcane's documentation, fantastic. And it's a very opinionated but useful idea for Compose management. Your projects directory is the main source of truth. So you're going to drop your Compose files in there, Arcane detects and imports them. Portainer's setup is straightforward too, but it's built around the concept of environments, so local Docker, remote Docker, Swarm, Kubernetes, etc., etc. And that becomes a theme. Portainer wants to be the place that you manage, well, everything. It's extremely versatile. But let's look at the container workflow. Who wins in that sort of day-to-day sort of setup for Homelabs? Now, let's do the most common task in Homelab. We're going to spin up an app, confirm that it's healthy, check the logs, make some tweaks, and move on with your life. You know, don't want to spend all day managing containers. Arcane, it's going to be guided, Compose friendly. You can create a container from a guided form, name, image, ports, volumes, environment variables, without having to write YAML files right away there. But Arcane's real power move is projects. So a project within Arcane is a set of services that's defined in a compose.yaml, but you can paste the compose content directly into the UI. And you're going to edit the environment file right there as you would in Portainer, and you're going to up and down a whole project with one click, and then redeploy to pull newer images. And it stores those project definitions on disk in that projects directory. And that projects directory as truth is exactly what people like about Compose first tools, but with a cleaner sort of UI on top. Now, Portainer, they have stacks and templates, and their equivalent to that is starting with stacks. So you're going to create a stack from a Compose file, upload or other methods, and then you're going to inspect, edit your stacks, management your envars, environment variables, and if it's Git-based, you can do GitOps style pulls, redeploys, all that good stuff. Now, Portainer also leans hard in templates to deploy common apps fast, and you can create your own custom templates too. Very flexible in that regard. All right, so now let's take a look at Portainer and Arcane kind of side by side there. I do have them running just as a single instance. They're running on the same machine right now, so we can kind of get an apples to apples sort of comparison there. Now, let me actually just split this up. There we go, so we can kind of get a side by side here. So when you first log in, you're gonna have your homepage here. Let's take a look at our dashboard actually. And we can see here it does have that sort of modern, sort of, I don't know what you would call the look. I just know that I'm a fan of it personally. Now you have a few key things here. You can start all your stopped containers. You can stop all the running ones, prune your system. So again, that is one of the great features here. You have some options within it. You can stop your containers, unused images, so dangling images only, build cache, unused network. So yeah, I can do a lot of stuff, prune that out. And you can kind of see one thing that did throw me off here, because I did see one Reddit comment where somebody was mentioning that Arcane used quite a bit more RAM than Portainer. I was looking here and I was like, oh, Portainer's only using 8.3 here, and it's using 17 here. My misunderstanding was that I was using 17 gigs. Then I realized, oh, I only gave 8 gigs to this container in the first place. So we're actually only using 1 gig here, probably around the same roughly for Portainer. And let's just take a look and go side by side what each sort of module here looks like in each section. So that's our home, our dashboard. Let's take a look at the containers. So we have our dashboard here, templates, stacks, containers. So we can see here, they're pretty similar. Like at the end of the day there, you are going to have, just your basic information, be able to select things here. Now, one thing that is driving me a little crazy, just because it is side by side, is that this keeps popping out, but that's just me personally. But one thing we could do, if we wanted to be smart, is let's just do something crazy and put it over here so I don't have to don't cross the streams. Let's see. There we go. So now we won't get that. And yeah, let's just keep going there. So then we have our images and we can see everything here. Got a few. I mean, I'm sure some people have quite a few more. Let's see what containers look like here. So, or sorry, images, I mean. And there we go. So we can see that's the latest, and we'll scroll over here just to kind of see everything we have. Yeah, so from an actual management point of view, while Portainer is a lot more versatile and powerful, again, it is a much more fleshed out project. It's been around since 2016, I believe. Might be wrong there, but just calling from my terrible memory. And this has only been around for about 8 months. So this is quite a lot that has been done here, and very impressed with the developer here. But let's take a look at networks here, and then we'll just try deploying a simple container. So we have all of our networks here. Let's see networks here. And let's actually go in a little bit and see what we can do with them here. So look at this one, we'll inspect you. And then we'll take our Arcane default and inspect that one. So again, you're not going to get too much different from your day-to-day here. You have your connected containers, things like that. You access control over on the Portainer side. It does mention its different versions, labels, everything like that, which does mention that stuff here in a smaller degree. But instead of let's just click through everything and the video will be kind of boring here, let's just do a quick deployment of an actual container on each of them here and just kind of see how they stack up here. So let's pull an image on Arcane. So let's just do Grafana. That's always my default. Even though we have no actual node exporter, nothing to scrape the metrics, let's just do Grafana. So we're gonna pull that, it'll pull the image here, and then let's do the same thing over here. So go here, pull from Docker.io here, and then we'll do Grafana and search. And then it brings us to a separate page on Docker Hub, and let's pull image here. And error, so return an error. That is probably because it is expecting the actual full name, full syntax, what have you. So kind of similar to what I ran in with our Proxmox video where they did a release on our LXCs and everything. So let's actually just try pulling here. So we can actually, or we can just do this. We'll do Grafana / Grafana. That should be able to pull that. Yeah, there we go. And 6 of 11 layers there, and let's do the same thing over here, and we'll just do Grafana / Grafana. Things work great when you actually type them in properly. Let's see, Grafana. Oh yeah, it'll just do that. So go here, and then we want to pull the image here, and let's see, Homelabs. Actually, I'm being dumb here. I was pressing search instead of pull the image. So image name is required. Yep, that would help as well. So we'll go Grafana here, advanced mode, image there, pull. All right, there we go. So successfully pulled the image. And we'll go here, so Grafana, unused, so yeah, we'll just put that now. So then we have that here, and we can actually go and deploy our container. And now let's go to containers here, and we'll go and actually add one. And we can do that right here if we wanted as well, but we're gonna go through the whole process. So if we were gonna go here, containers, and we have one running, so let's grab Grafana, because we don't have a container yet for it. So let's do our create container, my container, Grafana. And bin bash, yep, we can keep that all as is. We can set our environment variables, ports, volumes, very simple, similar to what you're gonna do in Portainer here. So here you have a little bit with your access control, everything's, you can get a little bit more verbose, well, of course, with how fleshed out Portainer is, but your network, your environment variables, all that good stuff here. So let's just go ahead and create our container. And container created successfully. And if we were doing the same thing over here, so Grafana, and then we just need a few more things here. We'll do our Grafana/Grafana latest. And what I was doing before, it's been a while since I actually used Portainer, if I'm being fully honest here. So a little bit of stumbling on my part, but we're gonna deploy the container there. Yep, container with the same name already exists, as you can see. Haven't used it too much, same thing with Grafana here, so we will just replace it there. And success. So I guess at the end of the day here, what I'm trying to say is they're both very, very similar in what they can do. There is quite a bit for Arcane to actually not so much catch up on, like just integrating more features. It is, as far as I know, one person, or at least a very tiny team. I still believe it's actually one person, but yeah, this is a project that I'm very excited to see how it sort of evolves over the coming months, coming years, and kind of see how it stacks up against these sort of titans of container management. So yeah, that's kind of just Portainer versus Arcane, kind of at a really high level. We did some basic stuff, and it's kind of just that this is a really cool project. Wanted to highlight it, wanted to give some shout out to the developer there, and really hope you check it out. Portainer, still a fantastic tool. Their their community edition is still great. No issues there at all, but you know, what do they say? Variety is the spice of life, or whatever it is. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but give it a shot. It's good stuff, but let's get back into the rest of the video. Now, when it comes to updates and maintenance, Arcane has auto updates, which some people may not like, but you can turn them off. But in the containers and projects, pick what you want to keep fresh and what can update when new images are available. And it can notify you via updates, via Discord or email. Also, Arcane's images page explicitly supports pruning unused images and shows update available indicators, which is a very Homelab thing, very, you know, good quality of life thing. Keep the system clean, keep disk usage from creeping up there. Portainer can absolutely handle updates, especially if your workflow is stacks from Git, and it's also designed to around ongoing ops features, so cleanup, remediation, alerts, etc., depending on how you deploy and which edition of Portainer you have. Now, when it comes to multi-host and local and remote sort of situations, if you got one Docker host, both tools are going to work. If you got 3+, this is where differences kind of start to show. So Portainer's agent model is well established. The agent proxies to the underlying Docker API or Kubernetes API server, so you can manage, you know, multiple environments centrally. And Arcane also supports multi-host remote environments. You can run a headless Arcane agent on a remote host, pair it with a Bootstrap token, and then it uses those stored tokens afterwards. Next, let's talk about auth teams and, you know, do I kind of want to expose this outside of my LAN? So if you're putting this behind reverse proxy and letting other people touch it, authentication matters. Arcane supports OIDC SSO directly in the UI, which is a big deal if you already run something like Authentic, Keycloak, Authelia, compatible setups, and also want real SSO. And if you want Arcane to be more service-like, it can be configured beyond the defaults, including using Postgres via database URL. But Portainer has a clear CE and BE, Community Edition, Business Edition. Allows you to do a lot of different things between each of them, and the BE is more centralized for those sort of enterprise and multi-location sort of setups. So that is something to keep in mind. So where does Arcane win and where does Portainer win? Now, let's kind of just be blunt here. Arcane tends to win if you live in a Docker Compose and want the UI to respect that model, so projects plus .env files. You want built-in auto updates for selected workloads. Want a modern UI that feels new and quick to navigate. Portainer tends to win if you want one tool across Docker, Swarm, Kubernetes environments. You kind of want a one-stop shop because it is a more mature product at the end of the day. If you want that mature platform that features templates, stacks from Git, API automation, again, that's going to be Portainer. And if you plan to scale multiple environments and keep it standardized with the agent model there. Let's give a quick nod to the alternatives that I mentioned as well. Now, I haven't used these personally, but they do seem like interesting projects that will probably cover in the future there. So if you're thinking about why no Dokage or Yacht, Dokage is explicitly Compose first, so compose.yaml is the core workflow. Yacht leans more into templates, one-click deployments. But today it's Portainer versus Arcane, just at a high level, because those two are aiming at the same, I want a real dashboard for Docker sort of space there, and just with kind of different philosophies. So that's the matchup there. If you want a versatile and broad environment support, Portainer is hard to beat. If you want a compose-friendly workflow with a modern UI, which it is beautiful by the way, and auto update, quality of life built in, Arcane is looking really promising and it's moving really fast. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you going to be running, well, not are you going to be running, are you running Portainer today? Would you trust auto updates in your home lab? I think I already know the answer to most people's answer to this. And what's the one feature that would kind of get you to make the switch from Portainer or whatever you're using to Arcane? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, throw us a comment, anything you liked in the video, anything you want to see us cover in the future there. If you want to see everything we have on offer, head on over to store.45homelab.com. And as always, I'm Zach Perry, and I'll see y'all in the next one.